Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Christmas Eve. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, there's a couple things I've been wanting to talk about. I want to do my next two videos. I had a conversation with my mother about how she lost my dad when I was 9 years old. She was about 32. And around Christmas time, how it's still hard. This happened in 1975. And I talked about how I lost Audrey, my soulmate, the girl I was living with. I was probably going to marry. She was the first girlfriend I ever had in third grade, and I lost her 3 years ago on August 5th from COVID. She was an avid Trump supporter. She didn't believe in masks or vaccines or social distancing. She believed in her freedom, and it ended up killing her. And how much we miss them on Christmas. And it's a tough time of year. Another thing I want to talk about, that's going to be the next video. What I want to talk about here is a lot of time around this time of year, they talk about how people in recovery, people that have problems, issues with alcohol, alcoholics, and addicts have a hard time this time of year because a lot of people are drinking. People that don't usually even drink throughout the year. There's Christmas parties, there's office parties, factory parties, everything, neighborhood parties. And people talk about how this is a tough time of year for us. And I want to talk about that a little bit because the first year or two, that might have been the case. This is the truth with me. Every day is a hard day. Every day I have to be on my toes to think ahead on who I want around me and where I want to be physically. Places I need, places I can go, and places I should stay away from. And the same with people that I could talk to, and people that I just should not even approach or talk to at all. And these are things that I have to keep I have to constantly keep on. This is how I've managed to survive and to thrive for the last 18 years in sobriety and being clean. And I want to talk about this one other thing, and I know this happens to a lot of other addicts too. It's about drug dreams. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. It's 18 years and going. I think I'm on yesterday was 18 years and 3 months. And I had drug dreams last night where I was using in the dream. It's weird because I'm still in the dream. I'm cognizant that I'm clean and sober, but I'm also using. So it's kind of weird. I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, the thing I want to talk about is this time of year for addicts and people with alcoholics. Like they say, the first year or two, it was kind of hard just getting used to adjusting to not needing alcohol or anything else in my life. It's gotten to the point now where I really, within 3 years, I came to like who I am, and it scared me. The thought of catching a buzz, the thought of drinking, just having a couple of beers, honestly scared me. I'm going to talk about this. I actually had about a glass of champagne in the last 18 years, and I usually don't count that. I've been clean and sober 100% for the last 18 years. And I mean, you could say that's not true. It's partially not true. And I'm going to talk about that right now. I dated two women. I didn't date anybody at all for the first 7 years. I was clean and sober. From the time I was 40 to 47, I didn't date. And that's one of the main reasons I stayed clean and sober, because it's very hard to find somebody else that has that same lifestyle or that appreciates that you can't be around alcohol or drugs. And the first woman I dated I knew from high school, and she drank every day, but she didn't touch drugs. She was on medication like tranquilizers and stuff like that. And I started dating her, and that was a mistake. I was in a good place at that point because this is when I was 47. I was 7 years clean and sober. And she drank every day. She worked hard. She had a great job at UConn, University of Connecticut. The two women I've dated in the last 18 years have both been extremely successful, prosperous, great families. I mean, it's women I would have never imagined, beautiful women I never imagined that I could have hooked up with, that I could be with back when I was using. And after we've been dating for about 3 months or so. I remember we were at my house. We were going to go to a fair that night. And I would go to the package store while she was at work, and I would pick her up a bottle of wine. You know, I didn't have a problem with it. I'd walk, and looking back, this was a bad idea. You know, going into a package store. And one day I got the idea that I was going to buy champagne, and I could have a glass. Maybe I'll try a glass of champagne. I hadn't, like I said, I had been clean and sober for 7 years. That night, we sat down on the porch. It was a nice night, and I poured myself a glass of champagne before we were going to go down to this fair. And I didn't even finish the whole glass. I drank about maybe this much in a glass. And I started to feel a buzz, like the red on my cheeks. And it was nothing like I remembered. It was not soothing. I didn't feel a release of my inhibitions. I felt terrified. It scared me. It's like I didn't want to be around people. I felt like I was losing control, like I was no longer myself, the person I had grown to love, me. You know, the new me, the sober me, the real, what I used to call or what I call now, the real Daryl, the person I was born to be, my real soul. And I felt like I was losing that with just that little bit of champagne. And I stopped right there. It was nothing like the feeling I remember. I don't know if other people that are in recovery have ever felt this. And since then, you know, the thought of even having one beer or even half a beer, absolutely it terrifies me. It does. I have absolutely zero urge to drink. I can't even imagine why anybody would want to drink, why anybody would want to lose control of themselves, you know, and get all sloppy and silly. And I can't even imagine how it feels good at this point. Drugs is another thing. I had a strong addiction to rock and cocaine. And I remember about a year or two, I was right next door, right here. I was riding my bike up the alley to come back here to my apartment. And there was a person sitting on the sidewalk. And I rode the bike by them, and I got a smell. And I remembered that smell. It was the smell of rock, of crack. And I looked down right next to me as I'm going by, this person sitting on the sidewalk, and he's got the pipe, and he's sitting right there smoking it. And it was just, again, it was a terrifying feeling. But as I rode my bike away, I thought about it. I used to call this lighting the fuse. That's how it always started when I used. It always started with, well, I could get money. If I did this, I could get $20. If I had that $20, I could make a phone call. If I made that phone call, I could get this drug. If I got that drug, I could use it all afternoon and nobody would know. And I could do this tomorrow so I wouldn't be in trouble. You know, I call that lighting the fuse. I start planning, you know, and that's how every time I use, that's how it started. And once that fuse was lit, once those plans were in place, I couldn't go back. You know, I'd have to follow through with those plans. And that day, riding up the alley, the fuse, I saw that fuse starting to almost get lit. It's like I could turn the bike around right now. I could say, hey, what's up, man? You know, and say, where'd you get that? Or what's up? What do you got there? You know, and it started to occur to me because that smell, the smell just hit me. And I got this rush of adrenaline. It scared me, but it was thrilling. I actually could feel, you know, the neurons in my brain firing. You know, I didn't do it. You know, I just kept riding my bike, and it quickly faded away. You know, the match came away from the fuse. But that was a close one. Every day is hard for me. The thing I have to stay most cognizant of every single day is who I let into my life, who I have around me. Because once somebody gets too close, okay, say I meet a girl, you know, I'm out riding my bike, and I see somebody I know from high school. They're riding their bike. This a pretty girl I always had a crush on, and she lives in the neighborhood, you know, and maybe we stop back here for a drink of water. We come back in, we start flirting. Okay, so now, we're flirting in the apartment. She's in here. And she said, you used to use, didn't you? And I'd be like, yeah, I've been clean and sober. And whenever I say that, if the other person, no matter what, even if they're using, they'll say they're clean. What if she said, hey, can you get some now? It's a weak point. When there's a woman and sex and relationship involved, especially if I let somebody into this area, that's when I'm in danger. That's mostly why I'm single right now. It's something I have to be and it's the same thing applies with friendship and men. So if I met somebody that lived around here, and I let them into my apartment, I felt comfortable with them. I started talking to them, went to the gym or something like that. And we were alone, and the dude said, hey, how about we go for a meal? Okay, we'll go for a meal. And he orders a beer. And he says, why don't you get a beer? Just a beer. Or he starts saying, yeah, maybe I can get a little this or a little that. I have to distance myself. I know that I cannot get that close. As soon as I meet somebody from my past or somebody new or whatever, I have to quickly figure out my plan and not let them into my life too quickly. Because like I said, I know that people lie. I have learned this. People, even if they're still using, they'll tell me that they're clean. When I say I'm clean, the other person will say they're clean too, regardless if they're using or not. I've learned that now. And I can't be too careful. At first it was a hard way to go through life. Because you have to be suspicious of every single person that's around you, that they're lying to you. That's really how you have to go through life. But now it's become like a natural part of my functioning. I know how people are, and I want to keep myself safe. So every day it's a new battle to stay clean and sober. It's not just Christmas time. All right, that's it for now. Next video, I want to talk about that conversation I had with my mother about how she lost my father back when I was 9 years old. She was 32. And I lost Audrey 3 years ago. And this time of year is especially tough because I just think about the shopping. I see couples together. I see kids. I see family parties, and it hurts. It really hurts. And it's never that hole's always going to be there. I want to talk about that in my next video. I'll probably do that later today, before Christmas. You guys have a good Christmas Eve. I'll be back shortly. Have a good one.